So often we're talking about I have faith, and what we're doing is just bumper stickers on the cars, or I have faith, and we're just. But it's not. That's not faith. Faith is movement.
Hey, how you doing? Look, we live in a time where there's so much content out there, and it's not all the time that you watch something that can transform and really change your life. Me and two of my friends are going to take some time and just really react to a podcast that we came across, which is just phenomenal. All right, I've got a friend of mine. Her name is Keta Ngosi. She's an author. She's written a book called Journey Through the Book of Romans. Somebody that loves God and loves the Word of God. She has taken some time to train pastors and raise up leaders out in Malawi, Africa. She's really just committed her life to raising up and training leaders. My other friend, Lenita Harris, is also here. She's an actress. Yeah, she's been in different projects, Project Power with Jamie Foxx, Claus. She's also a singer, a songwriter. Her EP has recently come out, 2021. It's called Evolution. When you get a chance, check that out. My name is David Kalilani. I'm also an artist. I'm a songwriter. And I'm also a pastor. I've done a lot of work in universities and colleges, just working with a diverse group of people. And we're just going to take some time to really just give you some highlights and react to this new podcast called Esther's Truth by Connie Taylor, who is a pastor at Cross Centered Church of God. So take some time, grab some popcorn, sit back, and check out some of the highlights that we have for you from this podcast. I must say, this podcast for me is a breath of fresh air. Yeah, it's a breath of fresh air. One thing that stood out for me the first time was when she spoke about how this woman, she couldn't do this by herself. She needed her community.
You know what? I believe a part of the answer to other people's dilemmas is community. I'm talking about team. I'm talking about accepting that there are other people who are included in the answer. Hallelujah. Are you willing? Are you willing to invite others into your dilemma?
So I think it's a principle that if we applied it as just Black people, whether you're an American or just back home in Africa, one thing we struggle with is team. If there is something that we don't do much, if there is something that is a struggle for us, it's team. I can look at other communities that have been able to get this concept. You know, you look at the Asian community there in Malawi and other parts of Africa, they come together, they support one another. And it's not just one person doing well, it's an entire community that's really doing well. We have this whole crabs in a barrel mentality. And I don't know if it's a aftermath of slavery and colonization where we were divided and conquered, and because we're struggling, then we only look out for ourselves. We don't really have that mindset where everybody has to do well.
I know that the first thing I would have said is, why do you want my race? Why do you want my boss? What are you trying to do? How can I get in on it?
Pay me.
Is there a benefit to me?
Right.
Rather than seeing that it was her turn. She was the widow. She had the dilemma at that time. One day it was going to be my turn. She didn't come to her neighbors asking for oil. She came to her neighbors asking for empty vases, empty jars.
Yeah.
So it's what we're being asked to contribute is not the answer in the sense of I have to be your solution,
right?
But I have to be a part of your solution. That's different.
I like that.
And understanding that I have a role to play in your solution, because really ultimately it's God who's doing the work. But that jar was being filled by the things that God was doing. But I'm contributing, because without the vases, then what God was trying to do in that woman's life would not have happened. And I guess the question is, how many things aren't happening? How many things aren't happening because we're just not willing to give an empty jar?
My God.
And I love the fact that it's an empty jar. Like, what is being required of you will not deplete you. It won't take from you. It's something you can actually give.
My goodness. I was having a fit. It seemed like Elisha there was not sensitive to the fact that she was a widow. Let me tell you, when you are the answer to somebody else's dilemma, even as Christians, sometimes when people bring us things, we stay on the problem too long. We stay on the problem too long. In fact, here, Elisha didn't even address it. He wanted to find out, what do you have? He was trying to get to the answer. There are times when people bring us things, people of God, we focus too much on the problem when Jesus is the answer.
Go and get the jars. I want to be part of your solution, and your solution that's eternal, your generational solution, not your problem. Because I feel sometimes we sit and sit and sit with the problem so long that we don't actually get to solutions with people. In the kingdom, I think we have to be about answers.
Yeah.
Looking at people and not sitting with their problem and nursing their problems, incubating their problems, but rather pushing past that. Sometimes not even going into it too much and say, okay, I hear you that that's your problem, but I want to talk to you about how we can change that situation in your life. Yeah.
If I'm passing a homeless person, the best thing I can do is just throw some money at them and keep it. It won't require much of me, but I think giving somebody a permanent solution is going to require a lot more. You're going to have a deeper sense of compassion than just, something that you can do quick and keep it moving. It's going to require you to care a little bit more, and do something that will cause that person not to be dependent anymore. They shouldn't be sitting by that street corner the next time you come by. They should be an empty street corner, because what you did, when you saw the person, not a distraction.
I love what you guys were saying there, and it makes me think what you were just saying. It makes me think of the book The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, which in it he talks about the poor don't need charity only, right? They need inspiration. Like, not that there's anything wrong with giving the charity, but the charity will only pacify someone in their situation, which is what you were saying when you were talking about incubating the problem, right? We have to get past the point to where we are pacifying people in their problem. And with Wallace D. Waddle saying they need inspiration, because inspiration will change them from the inside out. They will change their situation. They will get out of the situation that they're in, and then they can go back and inspire other people, right? And that is what I believe the call of this podcast to be, that we have to get out of our focus on our own lack. We have to get out of our hyper focus on ourselves, and pull ourselves up to be the answer for someone else.
That's good.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. That's great.
That's so good. And I think a lot of times, taking the eyes off your lack, taking the eyes off your need and your situation before it is resolved, before it's dealt with, and you focus on somebody else's first. Many times, as you work out somebody else's issue, way above your own issue, is when actually God comes through and then really deals with your issue.
And in that, what's happening in my mind is, as you are moving, see, God can give you the instructions before you move, but then he can also steer as you're moving. And as you are helping someone else, you're learning things that can help you in your place where you are. You know what I mean? You're doing things.
I love that. Yes,
come on, Keta, what you got? What you
got? That's powerful.
I love that, because I do think that in helping somebody else and being a solution for someone else, even in giving those jars, you're learning something. You're learning, because you're going to find out some stuff. If you didn't know there was a prophet who could help, that's when you find out there's a prophet who can help. Because you're like, oh, so I'm helping you, and as a result of helping you, I'm learning. So I agree with that.
This is mind blowing, because I'm thinking the story of Jairus's daughter. Like, he went to Jesus and says, look, my daughter's sick. I need your help now. Like, it was an urgent situation. And as they were going, the woman with the issue of blood interrupted.
My God.
And he had to wait And it was because of that delay that his daughter died. It was in the middle of Jesus helping somebody else, where his daughter died. But then look at this. He got to see the glory of God at a higher level. Because he just didn't see Jesus in healing somebody that's alive. He got to experience Jesus raising the dead.
My goodness.
In allowing him to first help this woman first before his situation was sorted.
Wow. Another really powerful part of the podcast for me was when she started talking about how faith in motion, that there is motion to our faith. There's got to be movement.
Mm-hmm. Faith is a movement. When God gives you an answer, I believe that the challenge will be to those individuals that's in that place to have an active faith. Our faith, it has to be active. He said, go, for the steps of a righteous man, they're ordered. Walk by faith, not by sight. Walk in the Spirit. That's our movement. We got to challenge those who are in dilemmas to make a move.
So often we're talking about I have faith, and what we're doing is just bumper stickers on the cars, or I have faith, and we're just putting it on social media. Yeah, social media. You just versus that, but it's not. That's not faith. Faith is movement. That's what James talks about. Show me your faith, and I'll show you my faith by my actions. It's not saying that actions. You don't need faith. He's saying that faith is seen.
Come on.
By its action.
By what you're doing.
It's not contradictory. It's not either or. It's actually the fruit of. So action is the fruit of faith. That's what he's saying. So when she talks about faith is movement, she had to go. She had the truth of the fact that she believed the prophet was her going to get those jobs. You can't say I believe the prophet and you're not moving. And you have to move before you see. And that's what the main thing is. You got to move before you see, because in moving, you are showing that you believe. And that's how you see God move, because God will not move when there is no faith.
I'm thinking, I would have been like, look, start with this jar first. And when I see you doing this one, I'm going to go get the other one. So I've got one in the kitchen. But you know what I mean? But she went and got all of those before he could even start with one.
That's right.
That's powerful.
My Lord.
And you just reminded me of the story of the 4 lepers. You know how it was when they started to move towards where they needed to be that God made their steps sound like armies. Imagine if they sat there. Let's hear the sound of the armies first. No.
That's right.
He was using their movement, their faith.
And I think that's what she was doing. She was giving us a call to action. Movement.
That's true.
Move.
That is
Stop saying you believe and you're not moving. You got to move on whatever word you've heard, instead of waiting to see a glimmer of did you really mean that, God? Start moving and then see that God really meant it.
Even in that, the glimmer still isn't enough for us a lot sometimes.
Yes.
Because there's like, okay, well, just show us one more thing. Just show us one more thing. I'm going to move. I'm going to do it. But you just I need another sign. Like, you're on sign number 944. Like, how much more do you need to put one foot in front of the other?
That's right. Yeah.
I love that.
I do. I love that a lot. I love that. The call to action
That's big.
Move, because God is working it out as we're moving. We don't know all right now that we're going to know by the time we get to the thing, right? That we want all of the instructions
first.
We want every step.
The blueprint.
But that only happens when we're putting something together that the creator of that thing has already put together from start to finish.
Wow. He knows it all.
And then gives you the instruction manual step by step.
That's right.
But when you buy that thing, you're on your own. You don't have the ability to contact the creator if you have a question. But in life,
that's right.
In life,
man.
Well, I believe what she was saying at some point in the podcast was that we have to believe we have the answer. God is living on the inside of us. And so as we're walking, as we're putting one foot in front of the other, God, the creator, we can ask the creator questions. All we have to do is just do the one thing. That's it. Just the one thing. And then we will get another instruction after the one thing.
Like I told you, this thing is a breath of fresh air. For me, another thing that stood out like crazy was the fact that he stretched her. He told her, look, go get as many jars as you can get. Get as many as you can get. And like, when you look at her situation, all she needed was one nice big jar. Because she said they only have enough for one last meal for them to eat, and her and her son to die. So if she had one nice big jar, they could make it through that year. They could make it through a couple of months with that oil, But it was like, get as many as you can get. And I feel like when you look at minorities or people that are in a place where they don't have much, we dream from that place.
We're stuck there.
We're stuck there. You can only dream
within that context,
along the perimeters of your bank account, along the perimeters of what you've seen and what you know. I don't think she ever thought she was going to be somebody that could provide for her entire neighborhood or community, So I'm saying somebody that's in Jackson that, earns below the minimum wage is not going to dream of a solution to fix the water problem in Jackson. Because it's going to cost a couple of $1 billion to fix. But they have the capacity to dream and come up with a solution that would actually help the entire Jackson. But because of where they are, because of their context, many times they won't be pushed that way. And I believe we're in an hour that God is pushing us to dream beyond where we are, to dream beyond our capabilities. And really have a blank check when it comes to dreaming and to move in that faith.
Yes, absolutely. And I can think of an example, a real life example of Tatu Taylor, who she comes from Malawi, from a village with very little access to clean running water, real clean water. Without having clean water, there's just so many things that are attached to that. Her being able to be exposed beyond that village, coming to America and being able to see something beyond the village. It means that she was able to now bring clean running water to that village. As an adult, she has been able to bring water there and change the lives of little girls whom she once was a little girl. And the village in which she grew up in is not the village in which another little girl is growing in right now, because of God expanding those parameters for her and dreaming big. And I think if you speak to her, she'll tell you that it was a dream. It's not that she had the resources and said, let me do this. It's that she dreamt first.
Oh my goodness.
She went and got jars, and I think those jars that open yourself up to what God can do beyond, and open yourself up as much as you can, and God will fill that. And I think we're afraid. We're afraid to dream big. We're afraid because we don't know if it's really going to happen that way. But think about this lady. She didn't know.
No.
And she's the blueprint of believing that way. So we at least have some semblance of it happened for her.
So
it happened for Abraham. It happened for, we have people that we can point to and said it happened for them. I think we have to be able to continue to dream big like that and change people's lives the way Tatu has changed the lives of people. Not her, but the lives of others, which I think is at the heart of what the podcast is talking about. Be a solution for other people. And I think this young woman is being a solution for other people who might not even know her name. But she's an answer to their problem.
That's so amazing, because when you think about the village where Tatu comes from, a lot of the girls are not able to get an education because in the morning they have to make sure they go somewhere where they can draw that water a long distance and then walk back and do a number of things that need to be done in the home while the boy child is going, So what she's doing is changing the lives of so many.
I believe the answers that we're going to give in this hour They're sustainable past. I'm talking about far into generations. I'm talking about far into the future. I believe that the answers we're going to give, they're going to be sustainable, not just to the children, but to the children's children. I'm telling you, God is a God of generations. Hallelujah. He's not a God of just right. He's a God of eternity. I'm talking about far into the future. And God is going to entrust you with those kind of answers. He's going to entrust you to give people answers, to unlock doors from generation to generation.
The answer that comes to you is not just your answer,
Right.
is the answer from God. It's God's answer to not just change your life,
right,
but to change the lives of generations that will come after you. That lady who lived, thousands of years ago, had no idea her story would be in a book for us to read.
And that we would be talking about it today, thousands of years after the book was written. And that, I think that's what also hit me, that, God is giving generational answers. If you're just thinking about your next paycheck, you're not going to be thinking or dreaming of things that are going to affect your grandchildren.
No.
And God wants us to be at that place where we're starting to do and dream of things that are going to, long after we're gone, are still going to impact others, like what Tatu's doing.
Yeah. And I think that's the heart of the whole message.
Yes.
The heart of it is, if we're willing to be the little boy that gave his 2 loaves and 5 fish, we may go beyond lunch and support 5,000 plus people. And I think that's at the heart of what she's trying to get us to say, take your loaves and give them away. Take your fish, give it away, become an answer to other people, and see a transformation beyond what you can imagine.
And it's like that African proverb that says, a wise man plants seeds for trees that will give shade that he will never sit under.
Hey, I've enjoyed this conversation.
I love this.
Guys.
And this is like, I can't wait for more of these podcasts. It's loaded. There's so many principles in Esther's truths. And I just want to say, hey, if you haven't seen this podcast, it doesn't matter which denomination you belong to, which tribe in the Christian body you belong to. Sometimes we can be so nitpicky and we miss out on great things.
Yes.
When we're supposed to eat the meat and spit out the bones.
That's right.
So give this thing a chance. Check out Esther's Truth. It's loaded.
Yes, it is.
It's loaded. Check this thing out.